Okay, so we're up to Siman Nun Ches, very important halachas, the dinim of Krias. So says the Mechaber in Sif Aleph, Zman Krias, when is the correct time to say Krias? Shashachris mishayira es chaveiroi harogil imoy ktsas berichuk arba amas v'yakireno. The time is from the moment in time when you're able to recognize your friend from 4 amas away. In other words, there are 3 times. There are 3 zmanim. One zman is from Alois HaShachar. That's the earliest time. That's when the dawn breaks. The sun has not yet risen over the horizon, but the sun is sort of emerging. And then you have Mishayakir. That means it's a little bit lighter, and you can recognize an acquaintance from 4 amas away. And then the next time is Neitzachama, when the sun is actually just emerging on top of the horizon. So that is the 3 zmanim. So the zman of Krias is that middle time. It's after Alois, but before Neitzachama. It's when you can recognize your friend from 4 amas away. So if you take a look at myzmanim.com, and you put in whichever way you put in London, whatever time it is, Alois can be, at 6 o'clock, and Mishayaki can be at 6:30, and Nates can be at 7 o'clock, whatever time it happens to be. But it'll be in that order. Alois comes first, Mishayaki is a bit later. That's why you sometimes see the Zman Talis Tefillin is, although it's Alois already, but the Zman of Talis and Tefillin is a bit later, and then Nates is going to be a bit later. So the earliest time for Krias is when you can see your friend, and again, a friend who is an acquaintance you're not so friendly with, but you recognize him from 4 amas away. And you've got until 3 hours, 3 halachic hours into the day, which is a quarter of the day. Let's do the Mishnah Berurah on that. See, you've got an Aleph. Zman Krias. The brachas of Krias, which is from Baruch Hu onwards, Yetzirah, etc., one shouldn't say before the time of Mishayakir either. That's a guest who comes from time to time, not someone who's too familiar with you. Because if you're very familiar with him, he's very friendly with you, you can recognize him even from a distance. And if you don't recognize him at all, even if he's closer, you won't recognize him. 4 amas is between 6 and 8 feet. Yeah, it depends on how you measure it. On whose shirim you go by. Now, why did this come? Where did this time come from? Why didn't they just go with Alois or with Neitzachama? Where does this Mishayakir come from? Because Chazal will cover this man for Krias after Miksas Anoshim Komim Mimitosim Mishalayim Atashachar. Even though some people get up as early as Amud Hashachar, the Korinim Bei Uvukumecha Min HaTorah, because the Torah says B'shach. When you have to say Shema, B'shach B'cha Uvkumecha. When you go to bed, that's the Krias at night time. Uvkumecha when you wake up in the morning. And therefore, people get up at Amud Hashachar, which is the earliest of the 3 times I mentioned, and therefore, b'diavad your yaitze, if you say from Amud Hashachar, since most people only wake up at the later time of Mishayakir when they recognize their friends, and furthermore, because they were koveya Parsha Sitzis in Krias, the 3rd paragraph of Shema, Tichsiv Bo, where it says Uriyisem Oisai, you got to see it. Chazal were koveya that zman when you can differentiate between the Tcheles and the Lovon, the different colors of the Sitzis. For who has man? The Mishayakir is Chaver Berichuk Arba. That's the time when you can recognize your friend from a distance of 4 amas. Ad Soif, until the end of 3 hours. But you shouldn't delay unnecessarily until that time. Don't wait until the deadline to say it. That's the Shnei Selyo b'Shem Derushalmi. Shalosh Shois, Shekei, why 3 hours? Shekein Derech B'nei Melachim Lamedos, because kings, royalty would get up later in the day, 3 hours into the day. Therefore it's still technically Uvkumecha, because people still get up then. Mizman Amud Hashachar, Kein Kosev Mogen Avram. The Mogen Avram says you calculate it from Alois, which is also Amud Hashachar. V'das Hagra Mishanei Tzachamo. U'li'inyin lechatchila ein nafkamina b'zeh. There's no real nafkamina, he says. The belav hochi osel acher v'chanal b'sif cotton gimel. But you shouldn't delay until that point. Now, this is the major machlekas. Yeah, the Seisvan Krias, the Gon. This is it. This is the whole sugya. So take a look at notes 3 and 4. I'll just read you a bit. 3. Let's just read 3. For chalukas hashos kosev lekamon שלפי המוגן אברהם מחלקים את היום ל-12 חלקים מעלות השחר עד 9 כוכבים. According to Magen Avraham, you divide the day into 12 units, 12 hours, 12 halachic hours, measured from alois until 9 kochavim, from dawn until night. Well, if you have gram, you actually measure from nates until shkia. Each one is called the halachic hour. So this is the whole machlokas. Now, what's the halacha? So if you look at the 4, the Mishnah Berurah is not machriya. Yeah. However, he gives later on he gives other indications. But I'm just jumping halfway through footnote 4 of Vishalis and shows Igros Moshe. Kosev shebechala makomes Mishnah Berurah mukach shadaita noiter kagra. That the Mishnah Berurah is noiter like the gon, like the gra, which you measure from nates until shkia. V'haber rishonim sovim came. Many rishonim hold like this. V'hagra b'hasra, and the gon is later than the Magen Avraham. Yeah, the Gon died in 1797, right, in the late 18th century. So he's after the Magen Avraham, which is about 100 years, whatever it was. V'yiskimu alav kol olam, and the olam seem to go like that. U'mina grov hamakomos. I'm looking at 3 lines from the bottom of that paragraph. V'rov hamakomos from dinoseinu rasion litzav u'mina hashivas kagon v'agraz. And the minhag yeshivas is to go by the Gon and to be somech on this later time, because the Gon is going to be a later time for Sosan Krishma. V'chein hu ikar ledina b'chol hanyonim. V'rak yechidim hoy machmirim la'atzum k'Magen Avraham. Omnom b'mokum acher kosav hagros Moshe. However, in another place, the Moshe writes sheyesh lahagvid al zman Krishma shel Magen Avraham kivin shekabolas al malchus shemayim tzorech la'asos b'ofen sheyeh b'li shum pikbook, without any doubt. And furthermore, if you look at the next paragraph, v'chaz nish kosav shehar b'nogim kagra. Many people are knowing like the Gon. The Sefer Uchus Rabbeinu Kosev b'Shem Chazon Ish she'ef shelisman lechatchila azman hagon. That lechatchila you can be somech on the Gon. V'hagon Reb Chaim Kanievsky, he says Kosev she'Chazon Ish Omer she'ikka ka'hagon. Again, we can be somech on the Gon. V'lochein lo yisval b'yichidus k'dei lahafzik krishma b'berchoseh b'zman l'fnei Magen Avraham and yisal b'tzibur k'zman l'fnei hagon. Now this is really important. I'll tell you why. This is nogeh kimat, not like kimat, but many Shabboses, right? L'moshel, what's the Sosman Krishma this Shabbos? According to the Gon, okay, go according to the Magen Avraham. What is it?
9:33.
9:33. Yeah, okay, right, 9:33. And according to the Gon, it's later. It's 10:05 or whatever it is. Yeah, Mashu Kazeh. So the nafkamina would be this Shabbos morning. If you daven Hashkoma, you're laughing. You're fine, right? But if you daven, what time do they start Shabbos morning? 9. So did you get to Shema by 9:30 in Mistam or not? Okay, I don't know if you do or don't. Yeah, but if you start 9:15 and shul start 9:30, for sure not. So if you've got a predicament. According to the Magen Avraham, you've blown Sosan Krishma, because Sosan Krishma is 9:30 or something. If you start at 9 o'clock, you're not going to daven Shema before the Sosan of his Krishma. But yeah, there's 2 Magen Avrahams. Yeah, but okay. But let's take the mice that only take the they take the first one, which is a bit 9:18 or something. The second one, okay, Peseda. So the Dayan is the second one. Okay, but then do you have to? What do you do? So he says the Chazon Ish would say that you can be somech on the Gon lechatchila, which means you don't have to say Krishma before, and you can be so long as you get it by the Sosan of the Gon, then you're okay. However, he says Hagon Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky, the stipler, lahakbid alzman Krishma al Magen Avraham bidin sofik deraisa lechumra. And therefore there are people who make a tanai, they do it beforehand and just on the side of caution, etc. The Sfaradim, he says, the Orach says that the Sfaradim go after the Magen Avraham time, not the Gon time. So it seems to be a chiluk. But in the yeshivish world, they seem to go after the Gon, and according to Chazon Ish, even lechatchila you can be somech on that. However, there are those who say that lechatchila you should try and say it beforehand and be makbid on the Magen Avraham. Okay, I know the Dayan is very makbid on the shit at the time of the Magen Avraham. Okay, shehu revi ayom. When have you got till? You've got till a quarter of the day. Ve'ein chiluk ben yemos hakayetz. Shayom Orach, doesn't make a difference if it's a very long day like in the summer, or when you Shayom Kotzer. You always divide the day into 12 halachic hours. And therefore in the summer, a halachic hour can be an hour and a half, can be 90 minutes. And in the winter, it can be much shorter than that. It's always a quarter of the day, i.e. 3 hours in, that's always going to be the Zman of Krishma. And therefore, you've got to be careful in the winter to say Krishma. So that's what the Taz says. Ube'emes, says the Mishnah Berurah, it's the opposite. You got to be more careful in the summer months. The derech b'nei adam lamed bizman echod k'mo b'yimei sachar. People get up at the same sort of time. You get up at 6 o'clock every day, 6:30 every day, whatever time it is. V'oz kvar cholav ova kriyashma. Now in the summer, your zman is going to be earlier. The chol hayom god yosis, because alois is going to be, or whatever time you start, nates is going to be much earlier. The kol hayom god yosis man kriyashma ma'alovei v'tzarich legomra kula bizman, and therefore you got to be careful to complete the Shema in its right time, and therefore in the summer in particular, when the Sof Shema is going to be earlier, you've got to be very careful with that. Now take a look at number 5. When it says you've got to say Shema before the end of the time, what does that mean? Does that mean just the Pasuk Shema Yisrael? Does it mean the first paragraph? Does it mean all 3 paragraphs? So take a look at footnote number 5. V'hakriya muchayeves midoraisa. The Ramah says in Mem Vav previously, simply with the first 2 psukim of Shema. The read actually should read the whole of the first paragraph within the Zman. That really, according to Pri Chodesh, you should do all 3 paragraphs before the Zman. That you mentioned Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, that we came out of Mitzrayim within that time. And therefore should try and get all 3. So, but the Ramah says the first 2 lines, just Shema and Baruch Shem. The Mishnah Berurah says ideally, you should try and do the first whole paragraph. And according to Pri Chodesh and the Chayodim, you should try and do all 3 paragraphs before the Sof Zman. Okay, let's carry on. Yeah.
The whole reason we're saying it's for the Zman is for Isa Moisai, and then you're not saying that bit.
I see, the reason it says in the 3rd paragraph. That's just that the Chazal were koveya the Zman because it says it. Not that you actually have to get that 3rd paragraph in. Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. Let's carry on Mishnah Berurah. We're halfway through Sif Cotton Hay. Krias Shema b'shvil sitz so tefillin toim. People who say, you know what, I'll hold off saying Shema because I should really say Shema with my talis on or with my tefillin on. And no, don't delay. It's a mistake. If it means missing the zman of Krishma, say it without tefillin, without tzitzis. So when you get the tefillin, when you get the tzitzis, you put them on. Then you say Shema again, or you say something else, another capital Tehillim, or whatever it is. Even if you're unsure whether you're going to hit the zman of Krishma, still don't wait to put your talis and tefillin on. Because they're separate mitzvahs. There's Krias Shema, there's Tefillin, there's Tzitzis. But without that, if you can manage, then you should definitely wait. Because saying Krias Shema without Tefillin is as if you're being made Eidu Sheker. So if you can, then you should certainly, it's better to put your talis tefillin on and then to say Krias Shema properly like that. There are those who wait to make sure they can get tefillah b'tzibur. And therefore you've got to be very careful to say it in the right time. In footnote 8, he just says there's a machlokas. Do you have to make a tanai? He says, you're getting towards the end of the Sof Zman Krias Shema according to the first one, the Magen Avram's one. The Shlomo Zalman says, and you should say the following. If the halach is like the Magen Avram, I'm being yotze with the Krias Shema I'm saying now before tefillah. You should make that tonight. However, the Reb Nissen Karelet says, "Ein nagim lasis tonight zever yikrubli tonight." You don't have to make any tonight. Just and they discuss what's the tonight, but either way, you just get on with it. Let's just finish off. V'chanal b'soif simen memvav Mishnah Berurah ein shom ve'ein la'acha kriya lebeis hakneses b'shvil hazakenim amachrim lavav yistorchu l'spal b'chidi. Don't delay because of older people who need to come to shul, and you need to v'yistorchu l'spal b'chidi. Kimin shal dezeh yav zman Krias Shema, but you mustn't miss zman Krias Shema. Ve'ein omrim lo la'adam chatei b'shvil sheyizka chaverecha. Don't you sin in order to benefit your friend who's going to come to shul later. On Shabbos and Yom Tov, this is a major problem. That a wise person should see ahead. Just make sure you have your times at the right times. Daven at the earlier time or the proper time. I'll call upon him likra Shema kodim zman, or at least to say Krias Shema before the zman. Sheyamad lismal, before you're going to daven. Imatzibur v'chanal b'sof sim menvov. V'ain bivei agro halacha sham. Okay, let's just finish off the mechaber. Or mitzvah menamuvcha. We're back in the top now. Or mitzvah menamuvcha. So the earliest time, but the average of yotzeh from alois, but really it's from Mishayakir. That's the time Chazal will cover until 3 hours into the day. However, says the Mechaber, or mitzvah min amuvcha likrosa kavasikin. The best time is to do it with vasikin. What does that mean? Pirush talmidim, when the students will do it. The Rashi pirush anoshim anovim, humble people in mechabim mitzvahs who mechabim the mitzvah, who love the mitzvahs. And that's what we call vasikin, right? V'shohim mechabim likrosa ma'at kodim haneitz hachamo. They would say Shema. They would schedule it just before Nates, Pirush, Yitzias Hachama, when the sun emerges. That the Rimonim are budding, they emerge. They would do it Shema just before Nates, so that they get to Shema Esrog with the Nates. That's what it means, davening Nates. Listen to this. Someone who davens with Nates, his schar is very great. And Shia Netzachama Kamai Shia Shah Achas Kodim Shalad Kol Aguf Hashemesh Ala Aretz. Okay, let's just finish off Mishnah Berurah. Sif Kotzen Vav Shayu Mechavnin Ki Ika Mitzvah Tefillah Lechatchilu Me'es HaTcholas HaNetz, because the Ika Mitzvah of davening is really when the sun emerges. Mil Dichsiv Yiraucha Im Shemesh, like his pasuk says. The Commission is well Lekam Sim Peites. V'im Hoy Maskin Likrosu Mishiakes Chavero. If you did it earlier, Hoy Harbe Ben Zed L'Shia Netzachama. Mishiyakir is quite a lot earlier the Nates, and therefore and therefore wait with Krias Shema until you get closer to the Nates, that you can say Shemona Esrog with the Nates. You wouldn't be semech gula tefillah if you have got this big gap. If you have the privilege of ever seeing the sun rise, you literally see it. The sun just emerge, from the horizon. That's Netzachama. Ma'id, the schoras, there's the mechaber, is great. Muftuch lo shel ben olam haba. You hear that? You daven with Nates, muftuch shel ben olam haba, v'lo yuzu kol ois hayom, and you won't be damaged the whole day. Shir sha'ah v'yesh garsin isur sha'ah, v'ayim be'alocha shekaz v'shtarach lema shlish isur sha'ah, v'ayim be'alocha. Okay. If it's the great is so great, whenever the Mishnah Berurah brings something like this, or Avram Gruvit says, as long as you do it once a year, and he says in Gate said, inevitably, the daven shachar at 8 o'clock. He's going to daven at some point a few times for a few months in the year at Nates. That's his, so at least you do it once in a while. Okay, we'll leave it there. Okay.